Good afternoon or good day. How are you, dear viewers? I hope you're having a wonderful day. It is raining over here in my part of the woods, and it's time for a death battle reaction, the first one of the season, and it's going to be a Marvel versus DC matchup. We're getting Ant-Man versus the Atom. In essence, is two geniuses who can shrink to really small sizes and all the powers that come with it. Now, I have seen a few analysis or like prediction videos for this, and especially Nemesis's video on it, which almost made me cry because it was so mind-breakingly deep and complex. But here's what I wouldn't suggest you listen to that unless you really want to feel insignificant about everything in life. But having said all that, what I do know about this fight going in is that we are going to be getting Hank Pym versus Ray Palmer. And that right off the bat, Ray Palmer is at a huge disadvantage depending on what feats and powers they include for this fight. Hank Pym has a lot more gadgets on at his disposal. He has a lot. He has ants. Hank Pym does. He has ants, gadgets, and all sorts of stuff. But and he can also grow in size. But I don't really think that'll be much of a factor in this fight. If I'm wrong, oh well. But let's see what the fight has in store, and I'll give you my thoughts during the before we start the fight. 3, 2, 1.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp and Mint Mobile.
I have done a video about all my ideas for death battles, if you check that out.
The Atom, DC's legendary Mighty Mite.
Good things come in small packages.
The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
We're just trying to get these out of the way.
He's Wiz and I'm Boomstick.
And it's our job to analyze their weapons, armor, and skills to find out who would win a death battle. Did you know that ants can lift 50 times their own body weight? That'd be like if you lifted a car straight over your head.
I did, thanks to my Fun Fact of the Day calendar. Also, Hawaiian pizza was invented in Canada yesterday.
Well, I bet your calendar didn't tell you that Dr. Henry Pym, a.k.a. Hank, was considered a genius at a very early age.
He
By
was.
3 years old, doctors declared that he was smarter than both his parents combined.
He eventually majored in biochemistry and
He's the
became one of
scientist
most
supreme. He's
successful
really
scientists in his
smart.
field. He had big ideas about shrinking the size of cargo to reduce shipping costs. Logistics.
All of which made him a laughingstock in the scientific community and sparked a long-lasting insecurity and need to prove himself.
But he did it. He developed a working serum. He went from laughingstock to Christmas stocking. The much better stuck, right behind Bean and Life.
So, naturally, he tested the serum on himself, like any self-respecting scientist would, and shrank down to the size
I mean,
of
I
an
know of the characters. I know some of their backstories. I know definitely more of. I know of Ant-Man mostly because of the movies and a few of the cartoons, and I also know of Ray Palmer mostly from Legends of Tomorrow. But I know of these characters.
Makes total sense. Ants are fascinating.
Did you know that ants can talk to each other in a bunch of different ways? Through touch, sound, or even sharing information by barfing at each other.
It's actually called trophallaxis, and they're not barfing, per se. It's more like passing food mouth to mouth.
Gross! Hank figured out how to communicate with his new pets. Not by barfing, but by creating a cybernetic helmet that mirrors an ant's antenna. And he's even developed genuine relationships with some ants, like Ulysses S. Ant here.
But he didn't stop there.
I did see the new Ant-Man movie, and it was alright.
Energy into a stun beam and image-inducing camouflage to mask himself as an ant. It worked so well it fooled Reed Richards, the smartest guy on the
That I
planet.
remember them talking about the camo thing.
To the newly discovered Pym particles, named after himself. Classic Hank.
And the Pym particle is the key to unlocking the fundamental constants of the quantum mechanics at play here. They enable you to decrease the distance between atoms. However, in order to do that, he'd have to change the Bohr radius, the ratio of electron mass to the distance the electrons orbit an atom's nucleus.
This is getting...
Like how when you make a bagel pizza, you can't fit the whole pizza on the bagel. Believe me, I've tried. It's too small.
I remember those.
Less on.
Sure, Boomstick. So the Pym particles are actually displacing mass to an alternate dimension in order to maintain that ratio.
Oh, it's like having a second bagel to put the rest of your pizza on. I get it.
But if that were true, he shouldn't be able to punch with full-size strength if he has less mass.
And he's definitely lighter, because otherwise he'd crush the sweet ants he rides, like Vincent Van Gogh here.
His mass is being replaced with massless neutrinos, but that doesn't adequately explain how he
Vincent
can have less
Van
mass
Gogh.
and seemingly
I like
more
that.
mass at the same time.
Sure it does, Wiz. Trust Pym and his particles. Look at the guy. He's explaining the whole thing while wearing a lab coat. What's more trustworthy than that? You're the exception.
You think you understand this?
Oh, of course. He's small but strong. You said something about a boar, so I guess you wanted ham on that pizza, but I already made the pizza.
Will you take that coat off?
No. Oh,
Regardless, there is virtually no limit to Hank's ability to shrink. He can go beyond subatomic, down to the underspace, a plane of existence below all realities in the Marvel universe.
and Hank has
Deathbell's definitely explaining it a lot better.
He's rewritten his own chemical makeup to prevent anyone else from changing his size. And he's used Pym particles
Ooh.
so much, he's now got an energy field around him that lets him change the size of people or objects on the fly, or touch, or by straight up firing Pym particles in the air.
He's never shy about using them either. He eventually supplied his wife, Janet Van Dyne, with some Pym tech to become the Wasp, his partner in crime fighting.
The two ended up rubbing shoulders with A-listers like Thor, Iron Man, and the Hulk to take down Loki. Ant-Man and the Wasp were actually the ones that captured him and pitched the idea of forming the Avengers.
Unfortunately, Hank's insecurities started to creep back in, and he felt that if he wanted to keep up with the big heroes, he was going to have to think bigger.
Enter
Yep.
a bunch of those Pym-powered alter egos like Yellow Jacket and Giant Man, where he can grow anywhere from 12 feet tall to so big he can enter the overspace, the polar opposite of the underspace.
There he met
Yep.
Eternity, who called him Earth's scientist
Scientist
supreme.
supreme.
Something he won't let you forget.
Hank pushed himself to these insane heights, even though he knew the strain on his body could be fatal.
But he simply didn't care and kept pushing himself. Thus, his greatest and worst creation was born.
Ultron.
Ultron.
Yep, all the Tin Man Tron was created by Hank, not Tony like the movies. But the mass murder butt
Gets him
thing turned out
based
pretty
off
much
his
the same.
mind and-
Big swing and a miss there.
The fallout from Ultron left Hank in a bad place, to say the least. His guilt made him feel like an utter failure. and
But
that
the
his
idea
work
of
was
him
behind
being
him.
able to prevent
This
others
led
from
Hank
shrinking
to
his body,
unspeakable
that's
heights.
problematic to me.
A real low-life move. And even though
Because that's
mental
one of the
health
powers
doesn't
of
excuse
Ray
his
Palmer.
behavior,
He can
it was clear
change
that
others'
Hank needed
size,
help.
and
He suffered multiple mental
Yeah.
breakdowns, endured the physical toll of the Pym particles, and had bipolar disorder that went undiagnosed for years.
So Hank finally did the best thing he could. He acknowledged his problems, got the help he needed, and committed to self-improvement.
And with that help, Hank slowly started making things right. He rebuilt the West Coast Avengers, gave Scott Lang his blessing to become the second Ant-Man, and finally defeated Ultron.
He created a backdoor Trojan infiltration code to defeat Ultron that was so advanced, it went on to replicate and evolve all on its own to create a new species made up of artificial intelligence.
They don't call him the god of modern AI for nothing. Hank has showed over and over again that he's an integral part of the Marvel Universe.
Not just by ways of his scientific contributions or victories in battle, but by proving that heroes come in all shapes and sizes. This episode is sponsored by...
so far, yeah, we just heard about Ant-Man, and he's definitely everything that I recall hearing about. It's giving me a lot of reservations in siding with Ray Palmer. I still like Ray Palmer as a character. I like him. I'm a DC fan in and out, but unless they show something that about Ray Palmer that I don't know or that wasn't covered, then this is going to be an uphill battle for him, because Hank Pym has a lot going for him.
change, you can switch therapists at any time at no additional charge.
I do
Find more
think,
balance with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/deathbattle.
I don't know what the whole bipolar part of Hank Pym's personality will play, if anything, to this fight. Okay, now let's get to Ray Palmer.
Ray Palmer was born your average human-sized person. He grew up in the Northeast, studied physics at Ivy University, and did everything Mama and Papa Palmer told him to do. Probably.
Everything was pretty typical for Ray until one fateful night when he took a walk to take his mind off a frustrating experiment and saw a meteor fall from the sky.
He ran up
He gets
to the
his
crash
power.
and found
Yep.
himself a life-changing piece of a white dwarf star.
Yep.
And immediately started messing around with it. Who wouldn't?
He discovered that he could focus ultraviolet rays through it and shrink inanimate objects. There was just one problem. When he shrunk things, they exploded. Every time.
I do not see the problem. Sounds like he found a foolproof way
Yep.
of blowing stuff up. Case closed.
Ray was determined to figure out how to shrink objects without blowing them up. But first, he went on a hike with his nature club. And as a fellow scientist, I have to question his priorities.
But hey, it seems
Gotta
to
love the
work for him.
nature.
I support it. Different hikes for different mics, am I right?
While in a cave, the ceiling suddenly collapsed, trapping everyone inside. After searching high and low for another exit, Ray found a small opening and had an idea. He could try to shrink himself down and get help, even if it meant he might explode before he got the chance.
But he didn't explode. I hope this story has a happy ending at least.
Perplexed, Ray determined there must have been something special about him that made him uniquely immune to the explosive fate. Something super scientifically convenient that we never get any more information on.
So he got to work and created himself a suit to harness the power of the white dwarf star and became
The Atom.
Adam uses the white dwarf fragment
Mind
to decrease his
manipulation.
size while having control over his
Hate
density,
manipulation.
which makes a lot of sense considering that white dwarfs have the mass of a star, like the sun, but their volume is more like the Earth's, making them among the densest objects in space.
just a teaspoon of the stuff could weigh up to 100 tons. That's one strong spoon.
When Adam shrinks and shifts his weight, he's actually sending his extra mass to a dimension called the mass zone.
Where Adam could maybe live forever. At one point, Ray's apprentice Ryan Choi was murdered by Deathstroke, but willed some of his mass to the mass zone and was able to survive in that dimension. So these guys can potentially cheat death, but would be stuck there without any outside help.
But from one scientist to another, what's most impressive is Ray's creation of the bio belt. That's what allows Adam to use the power of the white dwarf and shrink while maintaining
They
any
didn't
weight
go
from
over
material to his
Ant-Man's
full 180 pounds.
arsenal.
There's even been times where it's stated that he was able to become almost as dense as a white dwarf star itself for a few seconds.
The belt is also how he can travel through phone lines or through the air, on currents or light beams. Over time, Ray has spread out the white dwarf power to other parts of his suit, and now the bio belt acts as a utility belt for his shrunken weapons and tech. It also prevents his size or mass from being altered by any outside forces.
While he can only increase his size back to his natural 6 feet in height, his ability to shrink is near limitless. He can travel between
Near
subatomic
limitless.
space to the microverse, the foundation of all reality in the DC universe, where atoms become the size of planets.
Typically, he can increase back to his normal size with such force he can smash through diamonds. So if Adam increases his size too much while still within the microverse, he could blow up the entire fabric of reality from the inside out.
Shrinking down to that size means that he can shrink small enough to rearrange atoms themselves.
Yep, Ray can take individual molecules and rapidly expand them to cook up a small nuclear blast in the palm of his hand. Oh, Ray Palmer. I just got that.
He also once disarmed a bomb by rearranging its atoms. At that size, he can move at the velocity of light. So fast and so randomly, he basically acted as a barrier between any and all possible atom combinations. But come on, there's no scientific explanation here for him to have superhuman senses or awareness to comprehend being everywhere at the same time.
It makes total sense. If you're small enough, you can fit in almost everything, everywhere, all at once. Like how you can fit an entire pizza into a calzone, and then you have a whole pizza everywhere inside the calzone. Man, I get it. Science is pizza.
No! Science is all I have! Why are you doing this to me?
On top of all of Ray's amazing inventions and abilities, he's also got some more classic weapons, like a laser blaster and a frickin' sword he used to fight a giant crocodile. Relative to his size,
That was when Ray was believed to be dead, but was actually just stuck at 6 inches tall and stranded in the Amazon rainforest, where he encountered an alien race known as the Catarthans.
And get this, he ended up leading a rebellion against their tyrant king and became the ruler of all the Kardashians.
And his heroism didn't stop there. The Atom was a very well-respected hero and was even asked to join the Justice League of America shortly after it was formed.
He fought alongside Batman and his best bud, Hawkman. And you don't fight with those guys without picking up a thing or two.
Impressive combat skills aside, Atom's greatest contribution to the legendary team was always his incredible mind.
He once created kryptonite inside of Superman by realizing that if he gathered up enough Kryptonian protons, they would eventually become radioactive.
While stranded in limbo, Atom realized that if the Flash sped up the rate of a nuclear reaction's stellar evolution to exhaust its core, they could turn a fire demon into a black hole and use it as a wormhole to get back to Earth.
Wow.
He's a brilliant, hard-working, and determined scientist that never stops working on a problem until he's found a solution. I mean, if I figured out how to blow stuff up as well as he did, I would have stopped right there. I'm the hero that blows stuff up. Wouldn't even need to change my name.
Ray Palmer lived the dream, going from research scientist to legendary superhero. He picked up the pieces presented to him and built something greater than the sum of its parts.
Who knew this tiny titan with massive brains would have just as much brawn to back it up?
Okay, for this, they definitely gave, with this rundown of the Atom, they definitely gave him more of a fighting chance, it seems. He has an arsenal, or like some equipment, like a sword, laser beam. I don't know if that's going to play that much of a factor. It will be interesting to... I definitely still think that Hank Pym is a lot smarter than Ray Palmer in many aspects. I believe something might be... There's something to be said about like him having this density of a white dwarf star versus like the things with ants. I think that might have to play a factor, but neither can actually either change the other. Ooh, this is going. This based only on what we have from this fight or from this analysis. Ooh, it's going to be close. I still want Ray to win, but I won't be surprised if Hank wins.
You should pick on someone your own size, relatively speaking.
How did you do this? It's laced with a particle I've never seen before.
They're called Pym particles, and I'm Hank Pym, scientist supreme. You should have knocked.
All right, let's see.
You're using pieces of a white dwarf star? That's cute.
Everything we needed already existed. You just needed to be smart enough to put the pieces together. Scientist Supreme?
I do like the 3D mod.
Did you know that at any given moment, there are about 2.5 million ants under your feet?
I mean, that makes sense, but why are you bringing that up right now?
Took you long enough. Okay, let's try this.
Neither of them can really mess with the other's size.
Nice try. Research every electron path in his gun and study their probability wave functions, but just might be able to.
The microverse.
must be reaching his limit. If we don't get out of here quick, he's gonna destroy all of reality. Now, my pets! You have your tricks and your tools, but I created something beyond the limits of human existence. I operate on a scale you can't even You can't be afraid to think big.
Oh! Ugh!
Ant-Man and Adam both
Gruesome.
had many answers to each other's abilities and arsenals. Both were able to store various weapons at a shrunken state, both were trained in judo, and they both could obviously keep up with each other's ability to shrink at will.
Though there was one small thing Adam couldn't answer to. The ants! Hank's bond with his pets lent him some small advantages, and Ray just didn't have enough anti-ant tools in his bio belt.
But in Adam's defense, the fact that he could punch with a fist packed with all of his mass meant that a close-up fight, while small, would leave Hank with few options since he can only punch with his normal human strength.
Even still, all Ant-Man would need to do is keep his dissed ants with the help of his insect confidants and devise another plan of ant-tack. Something Hank has no shortage of.
For instance, Ant-Man could alter Adam's size thanks to the Pym particle field he generates. Hank would just need to stall long enough to remove or disable Adam's bio belt, and he's had no trouble hacking enemy tech in the past.
But even with the bio belt busted, it wouldn't stop Adam's ability to shrink, since the white dwarf power is contained throughout his suit. Destroying the belt only meant that Ant-Man could alter Adam's size.
Whereas Hank has literally rewritten his own biology to prevent outside size alteration. And while Adam's abilities are definitely impressive, they are limited. And Ant-Man simply aren't, at least by comparison. Hank could always match Ray's size or just take the fight to the overspace where he would have the edge, both physically and mentally.
The overspace can mess with the human mind, but we've seen that Hank can handle it.
But if the Scientist Supreme is really so smart, why didn't he just immediately go up Adam's butt and blow him up from the inside?
What's wrong with you, Wiz? Aren't you a fellow man of science?
This is the meanest thing you've ever done to me.
Adam sized up Ant-Man, but in the end, he was the one who had to say, Uncle.
The winner is Ant-Man. Thanks for watching. Stay
I didn't
tuned.
get
We
the
have a new
uncle.
Death Battle releasing every 2 weeks this year. And click the join button to get new perks and extra content. Planet level members
All right,
can
let's
see
see
Death Battles
what
before
happens next
anyone
time,
else, so don't miss out.
Yes! Dark Souls versus Skyrim, Dragonborn, yes! I am a huge Elder Scrolls fan, and I am hoping that Skyrim just destroys Dark Souls. I've heard a lot about Dark Souls, and I've heard a lot about the Chosen Undead, but I don't care. I'm Elder Scrolls through and through. They have the bigger lore to draw upon, and in my opinion, Dark Souls is just a drop in the bucket compared to the amount of crazy, whacked out stuff that the Elder Scrolls has gone through. But as for this fight, I'm not surprised that Ant-Man won. It was an interesting fight. I thought there were a few times that Adam actually was going to win, but when they took it to the or the oververse or overworld, it was like, there we go. But what do you, dear viewers, think? Was it a good fight? Did you enjoy it? I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Please take care of yourselves. It's still raining and pouring over here. So I'm going to get this uploaded, and we'll see you for the next one, June 5th. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care. Bye.